everybody. How's it going? Fred Jones here, and I'm so excited to welcome you to Afterschool Guru Presents. This is the first webinar in what may be a series of many, hopefully, that is going to highlight the accomplishments, the works, the ideas, and the innovation that's going on in expanded learning or after-school programs across the country. After school matters. I've been working in after school for almost 20 years, where I used to manage programs in New York City for the New York City Department of Education, to working here in LA County, where I provided technical support, coaching, and training to almost 1,800 sites throughout the county and now throughout the state. And one of the things that I've come to realize is that the work that we do in after school is crucial to the development of a student's social and emotional growth and a lot of other factors that we're not always tracking in a normal day-to-day school. So in this program, we're going to highlight the innovators and those thinkers who are out there doing amazing work, bring them to you and share some of this wonderful knowledge, and hopefully it'll be helpful. This program was designed during the COVID crisis, so a lot of what we're focusing on right now will be conversations about how do we support students during COVID, how do we do all of this. But in the future, if this goes well, and if you guys like it and you enjoy it, this may be something that we continue on and on and on. So we'll see how it goes. I'm very excited to bring to you our very first guest, Bryn Drescher. Now, Bryn is a transformational speaker and a coach. She does speaking events across the country, and she's been working here in California, working with organizations, supporting them on a lot of different topics. For this program, we decided to focus on the idea of embracing change during times of crisis. Bryn gave us some really cool insights and a lot of really good tips that you can use to help deal with this crisis that we're all involved in. So I hope you'll watch the show. And at the end, please let us know how you like it. Give us some notes, let us know what we can do better, and just offer some good feedback and say hello to Bryn and to the rest of the team, all right? I hope you're well, and I hope you enjoy the webinar. Welcome to After School Presents Discussions in the Field. Now, let me tell you, number one, about how this whole thing came out. Obviously, the whole world has exploded with this little thing called COVID-19. And as we've been going through our whole lives and trying to deal with this, I myself, I know as a person who helps support schools in expanded learning, have been inundated with questions about how do we do this? How do we make this work, right? How do we survive and get past this? And so I've been very fortunate to work with the Califonia After School Network in various capacities, and they were putting together a weekly series of content to get out to support the expanded learning field. And so for me, I was really excited to try. Number one, I was trying to figure out how can I be of service? What can I do? And also, I have a little selfishness about it too, because there's a couple of people who I think are really cool and interesting and smart that I wanted to have a chance to share with others. Now, I've been very fortunate. I've worked on after school from the East Coast to the West Coast. I've been in New York. If my New York folks are there, raise your hand. And I've been on the West Coast here. I met a lot of really powerful movers and shakers in the field. And so I really wanted to have a chance to just kind of have some discussions. So that's what brought us here. Then Troy said, hey, Fred, you can raise your hand. Troy said hello so everybody can see it. Troy's from the California After School Network. He said that he would co-sponsor this. So that's why we're here. That's why they sent it out over the listserv. And hopefully you will find this conversation beneficial. So before we get started, I want to go ahead and introduce my co-host. I called her lovely, but I don't want to be sexist because she's much more than just a beautiful woman. She's also extremely smart, extremely talented, and a powerful mover and a shaker of her own, Miss Laura Wasson. Laura, would you say hello to everyone and just tell them a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, hi everybody, it's Laura. I am down in Region 1 or up in Region 1, depending on where you are, in Sonoma County. I am an assistant program director for a private nonprofit before and after school program. I have 80 staff and 600 kids. And then I'm also a CalSAC senior certified trainer, and I'm in the site coordinator network with CAN, and I'm in the fellowship program with ASAP Connect down in San Jose. I wear a lot of hats, and I'm excited to be a part of this. Thank you, Fred.
You're welcome. Thank you. Laura was like literally the first person when I put it up on the page. She was like, yes, yes. And I love her for that. I'm very fortunate. I have to say in full disclosure, I also serve as a growth coach on the team, and Laura is one of the folks I've worked with. And I'm just this woman, when I say that she is a powerhouse, really, I'm telling you, she's a mover and shaker. So I'm glad you're here, Laura. Thank you. She's going to help out with the chat. If you have questions, put them in the chat as we go through this. The whole thing that you're here for, you want Fred to shut up now, I get it. We're going to introduce who we're here to see, all right? The myth, the legend, Miss Bryn Drescher. All right, let me talk a little bit about Bryn, let you guys know who we got here in the room today. Bryn is a transformational coach speaker, and a change facilitator, which I love. On her website, it says that she specializes in helping people get rid of the BS. I love that because, you know, we all think about the BS, and I think it could be a little bit of that too. Belief systems that is holding them back in developing a winning mindset where anything can be realized and accomplished. All right. So when we start this conversation, I just want to say first and foremost how I've seen Bryn, like when you working along in after school, especially in California, you bump into folks all the time. And I think I probably met Bryn in a couple of things, maybe even a boost or something like that. But I know we were doing a training a couple of weeks ago for the legacy trainees up in upstate California. And we were all there. It was Bryn, myself, Marcus Struthers, and I believe Nate from I Am Impact. And bless her heart, Bryn was next to my crazy group where every now and then we would come out in the hallway and we were throwing paper airplanes, and I was wondering how she's continuing. I know she was like, who is that loud man outside? But she was so nice and so sweet. She was like, it's okay, it's okay. But that was my one of my first experiences with Bryn. But even before that, everyone who came into my workshop was talking about Bryn's workshop and about the message and about how impactful and powerful this woman was for them. So when she volunteered to come on, she was the very first person I said, yes, let's get Bryn in so we can start this conversation off right. Today, we're talking about embracing change in times of in times of crisis. And I want to introduce, ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Bryn Drescher. Big round of applause for Bryn, big round of applause. Yes. All right, Bryn, how you doing?
I am doing fantastic, Fred. I know, like silent applause, Troy. I am doing fantastic. I'm super excited to be here on what I know is going to be an amazing series that you and Laura are partnering to put on. And thank you for all your kind words. It is just such an honor to be here to think about how we can serve more during these times. And a little bit more about me. As Fred already alluded, I'm a speaker. One of my favorite titles in that whole bio is Facilitator, Change Facilitator, because I think that's so big, is that I don't really teach, I just help facilitate, because everything's already inside of everybody. I'm not, I'm just bringing out what's already there. And I'm just honored to be, sort of the agent of that, or be a part of it. And I worked with an after-school agency. How I got into after school, because of course I've spoken away from education and been all over the place, all over the country. But my one of the ways that I got into after school was through the agency that I work with. It's called Educare Foundation, and we serve primarily the Los Angeles Unified School District and 17 high schools and all over. And we're doing a new thing called Heartset, which we're doing with the California Department of Ed. And so there's a lot of great things coming out of that organization. And then, of course, my own stuff that I do on my own through my company called Brynergy Productions, because one thing I'm always known for is my energy. That's why I didn't mind that Fred was loud, because I'm loud. So I certainly can't throw stones when I live in a glass house.
Oh, absolutely. That's awesome. And what's really cool is I knew that you worked with Educare, but I didn't know you really worked with them, like in there. So you worked with Stu and those guys down there. Awesome. So I want to go back to that, because I think that the work that they're doing with the whole Heartset thing, could you unpack that a little bit? Because I think for those of us who don't know what that is, I want them to understand what this process is, because there's a lot of great work you guys are doing.
Right. So a few years ago, most people in education are familiar with Carol Dweck and the idea of the growth mindset, right? And so the idea that everyone can learn, it's possible, not having a fixed versus a growth mindset. And Stu Summergrant, our president and founder, was really big about saying, but wait a minute, what about a growth Heartset? And so he said, actually, Michael Funk was in a meeting and he talked about love. And that was like the first time it kind of hit him that we needed to put love back into education. And not in the sense that people didn't love, or teachers weren't loving, or after school staff wasn't loving, but the idea that it was taboo to say, I love you to a student, or even be able to speak about love in that way. And so talking about a growth Heartset, because really, as we say in Heartset, you capture their hearts, then you can capture their minds, right? People don't know how much you know until they know how much you care. That's a famous quote. So it's the idea of how to have this social emotional container around everything we do, because it's all relationship building. It isn't that I have the most amazing after school program curriculum, because no one's going to come if they don't love me, if they don't have a connection to me and what I'm offering. So it really is about bringing your heart to what you do so that you can then tap into all that creativity and then actually get through to the students who realize that you're there because you care, and then therefore they're going to show up because they want to be seen and heard and know that they matter, and that's important. And then also self-care too, how to first start with self, because everybody's trying to, us service people, we're big on let's save everybody, right? And I have this great quote on my Facebook page that says, a lighthouse does not run around the island looking for boats to save. It just stands there shining. So it's this idea of how can you be a beacon of light within yourself and then emit outwards, versus this idea of how can I love outwards and then it comes back to me. No, it has to start here. And it's a way of, and the big thing that we say in Heartset, and Troy can attest to this because he's going through the California Department of Ed certification program, but the idea that it's a way of being. It's not so much that we're teaching people stuff, we're just giving them tools on how to live from that place so that it emanates outward. So
wow. The lighthouse analogy just kind of blew my mind. Because we forget about that, how important it is to stand in your strength during the times of chaos. And lighthouses, what a damn storm we're in the middle of right now. So the lighthouse right now is such a great analogy to use. So when you talk about this, so you mentioned that, Troy, that you guys are doing this collaboratively. So is there an effort here within the state of California? And I know that there may be some folks here from other parts of the country as well. How would somebody, if they're interested for just that, and then we're going to talk about your program,
of course.
How could they get involved with the Heartset?
So basically where it's at is Stu first started with LACO. We partnered with LACO and they did a pilot program last year where we took a group of sort of after school staff and some directors through the Heartset certification, and they finished that. And then they got in touch with Michael Funk, and then it started with California Department of Ed, and then put it out to all the regions. And some, most regions participated, some did not want to, because they're not sure what it is. It's still new and all that. But essentially, right now, the only way to get involved with Heartset would be to invite us to come to your region, your place, if you're not part of the pilot program, and we can do like a taster, 3 hours, or a 2-day institute that we have, and really get a chance to kind of see about we have 8 Heartset principles, which I'd be happy to share with you guys if you want to send it out to your list. But it's 8 Heartset principles, and it's just how to give that to your staff. It's like a professional development, really it is, and it's an opportunity to really help kind of look at things differently. And what we've been hearing from lots of people that have done the 3-hour Heartset, there he goes, he's got the book. So he's got that in the window, the Heartset guide, it's a guidebook. And then we also give them our manual of activities that is called the Making the Best of Me. And we have a bunch of stuff that we pass out to give you ideas, but also, again, it's a container. So it's the idea of how to create the environment of having Heartset, or as social emotional learning being the core of what you do, and then everything come out of that. So the best thing would be to contact Armando Diaz or myself, and we can talk about how to have us come, or right now in this environment, if you're looking for professional developments, Educare is in we're ready, we're at the ready to do virtual trainings for Heartset as well for staff and regions, because we're doing one in Napa Valley next week with Chris Mesa. We're doing it with his people. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, see, good. Connections, great.
Yeah. Well, I might have to dip into that. I know Chris. I might have to just pop into that one.
Yeah, well, listen, because one of the things I think that we've all discovered during this period is that is the work that needs to happen, right? Because, I think that what we see now is, because I'm fortunate because I work with organizations who serve students during the day, but also organizations who serve students in after school. And there's this conversation now about equity, right? Because now we're starting to see that certain students aren't receiving the same level of care and support as others based upon geography, technology, socioeconomic, whatever. And so how then do we hold these students accountable for a school year, right? So I think that what we're seeing now, let's bring it back to the topic, right? Because now we're seeing all this change. We're in the middle of chaos. We're in the middle of this tornado of unknown. And I don't know about you guys, but for me, it's scary. And it's scary because of the fact of I can't control it, and for me, it's hard to let go and to just let things happen. And it's a skill that I have to work on. So that's why, I mean, Bryn, you coming on, I really want to focus on that idea. What do we do in this climate? And I'm going to take it back to your work as a transformational coach. What do we do when we're living in this place of fear, when we're living in this place of, I don't know what's going to happen next. And I want to be helpful, but I don't know how. And am I going to be okay? What can we do that's more productive way?
Great question, Fred. And I mean, you know, I'd be lying if I said I had all the answers, of course. But I think my biggest thing that I've been working on with the people that I coach and just myself, because I mean, I think I'm, you know, if you've done any kind of coaching or anything like that, you're your first client. Let's be real, right? You got to walk your talk before you start to, you know, you can't tell everybody how to get up a mountain unless you've been up there.
Yeah.
So the big thing is to, one, focus on what you can control. Your day-to-day outlook, right? So one, my biggest advice to almost everybody on this call and anyone watching the recording would be stop watching the news. Now, I am not suggesting that you be informed, but if you are on any social media platform, that has become the news. So you are not going to miss out on it. If the sky is falling, Chicken Little.
It's so horrible, right?
Not to worry about it.
Yeah.
So that's one, focus on what you can control. Focus on what you're digesting, right? Because I noticed that if I go too deep into consuming social media and all the different things, it actually does weigh on me. Because I'm like you, Fred, it feels like it's kind of going in a direction I don't want it to in some ways. And though I'm a generally positive person, I'm still having some challenges with, holy crap, like what's going on out here? The world is shifting in a lot of ways. So the big thing is to focus on what you can control. One, your daily, what you do. So one, like, you know, right now you guys are in Zoom meetings a lot or all day, a lot of you for your regions and such. So you're not having a challenge with that, but maybe scheduling somewhere between those Zoom meetings, some time for you, some fun, something that makes you laugh, something that's uplifting, something that allows you go for a walk, put some variance in your day, right? And don't be afraid to say, no, I can't have back-to-back Zoom meetings all day. Can we maybe schedule them an hour apart? Because I need some time for me. So that's another thing I would suggest. The other thing is checking in on people that you care about. Just scheduling a call, a fun, you know, or just calling people. I'm doing these things called sneak attacks. So what I do is I FaceTime a friend that I haven't talked to in a long time, and I call them, and then, or I did one for Troy the other day. I sent him a video and just told him how much I care about him. And so just something like that, like a little sneak attack, something that's quick, that lifts somebody else's spirit and lifts yours because you're the giver. Because let's be real, there's no such thing as an unselfish act. Like,
absolutely, absolutely.
You have to open the door for the person, you know, because like, I'm such a good person, I'm opening the door for them. You're still getting a little hit off of that, and that's okay. That's why we do nice things, because it feels good.
Yeah, and I love, and I have to say, I love the idea of a sneak attack, because you know one of the things that I've been experiencing, and folks who know me know I keep it real. I got to the point where I was like, I love you, but I can't talk to you on FaceTime no more. Okay, can we just do a phone call?
Right.
Can I wear my pajamas? Can I not look perfect? I mean, because I personally was a person who was working at home all the time. And I think that I got used to not, you know, whatever. And now that all of you folks are not working, everybody wants to Zoom. Let's chat. And I'm like, no, you know. So finding the sneak attack thing, I love though, because one of the things that I found for myself is that there's a lot of people who I've encountered throughout my work, you know, and all the different stuff I've done that I would love to keep in contact with. And sometimes I don't reach out to them because I know, but if I reach out to them, it's going to become a 25, 30-minute phone call. And I know that I don't have that right now. Right. So I love the idea of just saying, you know what, just to reach out to somebody and say, you know what, just let you know I love you. I'm thinking about you. You don't have to respond. That's a very, very powerful, I love that.
Yeah, so that's one thing, is just like sneak attack. I do my calls on FaceTime, but I also say, I mean, I understand that some of us are very married to looking a certain way on camera, but being that the beautiful thing about this time, there's also an opportunity to really find gratitude. I call it the gratitude ladder. So what it is a gratitude ladder is if you're in the bottom rung of a ladder on emotions, right? You're feeling maybe sad, you're feeling a little bit stressed out, you're feeling mad, whatever it is, the only way to climb up that ladder the fastest is through gratitude. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to go from rung 1 to rung 10, right? It's how to get from rung 1 to rung 2. So in other words, what can you be grateful for even in the midst of your sadness right now? Like, hey, at least I have a house to be in while we're at this stay-at-home order, right? Something to be grateful for. I have made the habit of like finding one thing through this coronavirus, stay-at-home, COVID-19, whatever, that I can be grateful for. Like, think of all the newborn moms who are able to spend more time with their kid, and the dads are actually able to be home with their kids, you know, unless they're essential workers. And of course there's always exceptions, but like all these newborns that are, you know, coming into the world, they have both parents at home right now, which is a rarity. So just finding something to be grateful for moment to moment, or at least daily, that is something that wasn't before, right? Now I get to see my spouse more often. I get to spend more time with my kids. I get to be a more present parent, because now this idea that I can't work from home has been debunked for so many industries. So there's a way to have a different perspective there.
All right, cool. And everyone stayed, yay. All right, so number one, hopefully you guys had an opportunity. So now what I wanted to do is give everyone in your groups, if you had like something that was really moving, impactful, that would inspire others, to give you an opportunity to share. So I'm just gonna open it up really quickly, and then we're gonna jump back in to let Bryn finish up with her amazing tips, all right? So anybody wanna share what you kind of talked about in your group?
I kind of want to call out Jay, because he and his friends are doing something really cool.
Please do.
So I don't know if Jay wants to share it, but I don't want to.
Oh, it's fine.
Okay.
So like Zoom is primarily, I've just associated it with business.
And Jay, I'm so sorry. You may know the others, but could you introduce your name and what organization you're with?
Hi, my name is Jay. I work with Storm at Roy Herberger Elementary in Elk Grove, California.
Perfect.
I'm from Stockton, California, though. And so my friends and I have been using Zoom just to like hang out in this social distancing phase. And the first night we watched Space Jam together through this app called Netflix Party, and that was pretty cool. And then like after a couple of weeks, we kind of turned it up a little bit, and my friend created some sort of virtual Disneyland, and she had all these Disneyland walkthrough videos, like point of view, and we all watched the same video, and it sounds pretty funny because we all pretended that we were on the rides, and people were really into it, and they were wearing their Mickey ears, and you know, it was just a lot of fun.
But, hey, were there any drinks involved in that Mickey Mouse trip? Because that would have made it even better.
No, me personally, no, but I don't know about everybody else, but everybody was having fun.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That's amazing. Anybody else? Nope. All right. That's good too. So, all right. So Bryn, I'm so sorry to interrupt it. I just really wanted to take that moment. Let's jump back into you. So go ahead and finish with your tips. You're muted.
Okay, sorry, I didn't know we came back muted. Yes, I'm so glad you did, because I like interactivity. I am not a one-sided speaker. I think that is just that's not my jam. Let me not say speak for other people, but I love to facilitate awesomeness. So thank you for taking that and running with it. The other thing is, just like what Jay did, I've done, one of my friends, we did a virtual game night. So that was fun. That's another thing you can do. But besides innovating how to the big thing is self-care. Like, I know there's agendas and there's staff and there's people to take care of and there's all these things going on. Is how do we justify paying people if they're not doing the same things that they used to be doing? And I'm kind of thinking like, and maybe this is a flaw of me not thinking organizationally and not thinking big picture. You know, maybe I don't think the politics of it, but I'm always like, why do they have to justify getting paid? It's not their fault that they can't work right now. So maybe we need to focus on we're paying them to invest in themselves right now. Like, are we putting on trainings that are about their personal development, professional development? Are we making sure that we're pouring into them so that this is all over, they want to come back to us, because they're going to have a lot of options after this is all said and done. So I think it's a good time to, like, as organizations, org heads, as people who have staff, to really think about like what's most important during this time. Just like parents like Troy and people like that have kids at home that are starting to realize, is it this important that my kid like jams it out in school during this semester that they're ultimately calling pass fail? Or do I need to keep my sanity, and do I need to make sure that we're spending quality time? And this isn't adding any undue stress to the relationships with the rest of the family, just so because I got to make my kid pass. this grade, you know, which is like sometimes in some cases we're talking about first and second grade people, like, you know, so, you know, so I think what I'm looking at just from in the macro is how can we double down on love? How can we double down on innovation, like creativity? Like, you know, instead of maybe doing this packet that they sent home, maybe teach your kid a science project by making a recipe. That has to do with science, measurements, math, right? There's so many different ways to innovate and not necessarily feel beholden to being super parent, super dad, super mom, super, you know, boss, super employee, super coworker, and just kind of like, let's be real. What we can say, I'm scared. How are you feeling? How many people have actually asked their kids how they're feeling through all this, you know, versus telling them, and vice versa, like, you know, checking in with each other. And I think that's all I'm always saying, like a check-in is so important, like, and just like letting people, and also being okay with throwing the agenda out the window sometimes. Yeah. Like, you know, like, why do we have to have, like, we got to account for every day? Because I've had, you know, some people that I've talked to said they feel like they're getting busy work just to justify getting paid. Yeah. And I'm not suggesting that, you know, obviously I'm not the finance person. Like, we have to do that. And I'm like, do we? Because I mean, to me, the playbook is for a different time. And we're using, like, you know, forgive a sports analogy, but we're using, you know, a Super Bowl playbook for the Pro Bowl. And it's like, it's two different things, right? It's two different things. So we can't use the old playbook for the new times. We've got to rewrite everything. We've got to kind of, you know, go in. And that's something that I've been pushing is like, let's, you know, like right now the districts are arguing over how can we have live presentations with kids because of this and because of that. And I'm like, okay, so if, okay, I don't know what's going on. Why am I?
Is that yours?
Yeah, that's me.
Oh, because, you know, I was in New York for 15 years. I hear alarms and I run out the building. This was about to be a wrap. So.
I think it's my.
Wow.
Somebody made popcorn.
Hopefully you're okay.
Popcorn.
Right? Forgot you had that roast in the oven now, didn't you? See, that's what happens.
Yeah. My girlfriend was cooking something and it looks like she burned it.
Oh, no. Go ahead and handle your business. So one of the things that I think that, you know, as Bryn was talking about, this whole idea of everyone having to have busy work, you know, I think that one of the things that we've kind of forgotten about is this idea of resilience, right? Kids are so resilient. And the fact that we believe that just because they're going to miss out on these few months that they're not going to come, they're going to bounce back so quickly. We need to take care of ourselves at this time. And I think that I'm glad that Bryn was talking about this message of, I was just saying, Bryn, that I really appreciate your message of the fact of how we really need to take care of ourselves at this time. And what we thought was a priority 3 months ago is totally different right now, because I think we were talking about resilience and the fact that the kids are going to be fine. The kids will be fine. This is a great opportunity to do all those things that as staff, we never had time to do, right? We never had time to focus on these different things. And that's why, you know, in a lot of my trainings, I always talk about this idea that change comes from chaos, right? Growth comes from chaos. If your life was perfect and everything went exactly the way you wanted it, you would never grow. You would be the most boring person in the damn world because you would never experience this chance to grow and to stretch your muscles. So I really, really appreciate that thought. What else? Because I want to really, you know, how do we feel good about it though? Because it's one thing to say, okay, yeah, these are the strategies that I can take to make myself feel good in the moment. But then there's that guilt, because I want to talk about the guilt. There's this guilty aspect. I said when we were talking about gratitude, I've got to the point now where I don't like to even mention that I'm busy to folks, because I feel like there's so many people who are not busy, who are, you know, struggling. And so for me to even say that, so I feel guilt about that. So how do we embrace this change without making ourselves taking on ownership of the fear and the guilt?
I'm glad you said that, because I think I've seen things that say like, now's the time to really double down and be more productive. And then I've seen some other things that says, maybe this isn't the time to be productive. It's time to lay off the accelerator. And I think it's different for everyone. But the most important thing is to realize part of being human, speaking of social emotional learning, is having a different range of emotions. So the fact that you're busy and you sometimes feel a little burned out by that busyness, even in the midst of these, some of you guys are in Zoom calls for 4 hours a day. Oof. I think it's okay to complain about that and not feel like, because it's like this whole idea, oh, because I'm not at a hospital right now, I can't complain, because I'm not, you know, like because other people are starving, I can't be happy. It's always been sort of a narrative that has gone on. And I think it's important as people to you be grateful, but also, you know, so you can be grateful for your job and still not like it some days.
Yeah.
You love your kid and sometimes want to put them in a room and be like, maybe not right now, right? So, you know, so I think it's just understanding the dualism of people, or the pluralism, is that we have a range of emotions, and that we've been taught that it's not okay to celebrate things when other people don't have. But that's a misnomer, because the thing is, if you're not celebrating it, then how are you ever feeling happy? Like, because there's always somebody that's doing worse off than me. I'm not allowed to ever be happy.
Yeah.
That argument, I think we have to kill that. And that's one thing that's really good about this time, is it's time to really reevaluate some of these structures and systems in our society that we must eradicate.
Yeah.
You know, talking about equity and looking at, this is exposing the, you know, sorry, I'm thinking of a word, but I can't think of it right now. The inequity, of our school systems and services and things like that. But we also need to look at the inequity of allowing men to have emotions, allowing people to have, you know, different range of things. And just because you're not a doctor doesn't mean that you're not going through a tough time. If you're homeschooling your kids and you're staying home all day and you're having to wear 5 different hats, it's a difficult time for a lot of people, not just people in the hospitals, not just people that are on the front lines of this, because a lot of people are on the front lines of this. For everybody.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. Bryn, so much really great information. And I love that whole idea of leading with love. This is about love right now, right? Giving more love. Because I also believe that we have a moral obligation to that as well. I'm a person who believes in energy. I believe that what we put out comes back. And I believe that if this whole nation gets into a place of despair where all we're doing is talking about the negative, we're only going to stay in that circle. So I think that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have this webinar, was to try to add a different voice to the conversations, a voice about love and spirit, and being hopeful during this, and embracing what the good stuff that can come out of this. So, okay, I'm going to shut up now, because I know out of all these folks, there's a lot of questions and people who want to jump in this. So I'm going to give you some time to do that now. So questions, who has a question for Bryn, or anyone here, Laura, myself, Troy, anybody, who has a question about what we talked about today?
Don't be afraid to ask.
Don't be afraid. You're all welcome here.
For Bryn, for people, I just want to make sure, because I was writing notes during, but do you do coaching for anybody around the state or even outside of the state?
Yeah. So I do coaching for anyone that, I mean, I do personal, like, mindset coaching, and I do, I know Troy already knows this, but I do mental conditioning for young athletes. But I'm big on mindset, big on heart, you know, like, where can you put your mind? How can you harness the power of your, you know, yourself to be able to operate the best, right? Because I always say, the best analogy that I've ever used that I really love, I know this sounds like self-congratulatory, but I'm big on analogies, but I think it's like, if you put a Lamborghini and a Corolla next to each other, doesn't matter how powerful the engine is, doesn't matter how fancy one is versus the other. If you don't have a key, neither one moves. So the thing is that you're the magic key. You're the thing that makes anything go. So as long as you're taking care of the magic, it can be plugged into any vehicle. And so, yes, I coach anywhere, because my big thing is, how can we work together to make sure that, you know, we're bringing out the best of you for anything that you want to achieve, whether it be, you know, after school site coordinator, organization head, maybe you want to make a transition and be an advocate of this after school and do something different. So looking at different ways to support this area.
Thank you. All right. Number one, I just want to say thank you. Number one, for showing up to another damn Zoom meeting. All right. But thank you for showing up. Thank you for being honest and living in your truth and sharing. I want to personally thank Bryn again for taking the time to make this happen. I'm so glad that I got a chance to spend some really quality time with you. In all honesty, I didn't know what the hell this was going to look like today. And I just said, I'm going to let my spirit just guide it and see what happens. And it was such an enriching experience for me. So thank you. Thank you to Laura for coming in at the last minute and just kind of doing your thing so masterfully. I gave her no direction. I was like, we're doing it at 1:50. She was like, I got this. Right. So I also want to let you guys know that next week we'll have the same thing that's going to happen. Erica Petrelli from the leadership program is going to be the guest there. I invite my TA coaches and fellows. I may need a co-host. I'm not going to make Laura do this every week with me. So you see what the format is. Jump on board. Let me know if you can co-host. Any other questions for Bryn, Troy? Thank Troy from the California Afterschool Network for advertising this and letting folks know this was happening. Anything else? Any other questions for anyone on the panel before we wrap it up and I'll let you guys go? Yep.
And
Bryn?
I just wanted to say that if anyone wants to reach out, you want to have any virtual trainings, or you want more information, or just need to, get some ideas for your meetings, for your Zoom meetings, how to make them more engaging or more fun, please contact me. My email is info@my first and last name, bryndrescher.com. And then you can go to my website, if you want to know more about my speaking or anything like that. But virtual meetings are so much fun for me as well. So anyone wants to, host something for their region, for their staff, I'm happy to, I would say quarterback it or put me in coach. So
that's awesome. And so I will also take Bryn's contact information, put it into the Afterschool Gurus groups so that everyone will have access to it. And if you don't have access, just let me know. You can reach me at Fred at fredljones.com also, or info@afterschoolguru.com. And I think before everybody wraps up and leaves, I just want to say, if no one else has taken a moment to tell you guys how much we need you and how much your work is appreciated in the field, let me be the first person to do that. What you do every day, showing up in the middle of crisis and doing your job and doing it with a smile, you don't get the recognition that you deserve. You damn well don't get the money that you deserve. So if nothing else, let me give you a pat on the back. Say good job. I love you. Thank you for showing up, and show up next week again. It'll be a great conversation. Enjoy your weekend, and hopefully I'll see you guys at happy hour. All right?
yes.
Take care.
Yeah.